What's up, everyone? Dalton Hopkins, Frontstretch.com here, and I am on call with Brandon Brown, driver of the number 68, Zero FG Chevrolet for some of the season. But Brandon, I talked to you earlier this year, and you have such an interesting story behind you, especially with the last few years and everything that's been going on. We wanted to sit down and talk to you about your experiences in the marketing world, especially with you being college educated in the business world as well. Take me back to your early life. How did that racing bug first bite you?
Yeah. Um, so I guess I'd say I was about 9 years old when the racing bug got me. Just went to a local go-kart track in Northern Virginia, in King George, Virginia, and went and watched a race. My pop-off had a go-kart, and my uncle Kevin bought a go-kart, and those are just like for fun, yard cart style go-karts, I guess. And they they invited the family out for a race, and when I got there and I watched it and everything that was going on, it hit like hard. Like I had to do that. And that's where that's where the begging and pleading to my dad started. I need a go-kart. I like, please, can I have a go-kart the entire ride home? So I think that was probably the worst 45 minutes of his life. Just me begging, pleading, because I did what every other kid did. I played other sports growing up, played soccer, baseball, basketball, just kind of, never really sunk into one of those. Just like I always enjoyed them. I enjoyed all of those sports all the way up through middle school, and then even playing a little bit of freshman year in high school. But no, I mean, racing was the true love from the beginning. So I guess that's where it all started, in King George, Virginia.
Were you watching NASCAR back then? I mean, were you watching the races on TV?
Honestly, no. I
Any kind of
didn't.
professional racing?
No, I like video games. I didn't really have like this like big. I didn't watch like a ton of TV as a kid, I guess. I don't know. We mom and dad were very adamant about growing up, like my brother and I being outside playing something, doing something. But no, I mean, it's hard to remember a lot of things that were going on at that age. But I guess the big one that I remember was being at that go-kart track and getting to watch them race, and then getting to do it myself. So that was the highlight. But soon after that started, I mean, then I saw NASCAR on TV, and I was, hooked, and was like, well, that's where I got to go. And funny story is the very first go-kart that we ever bought, my dad bought it for me. It was a Shadow, and I don't know how old it was. It was a terrible kart. I mean, this thing was a turd, but it got me out there. And yeah, the number that came on the kart that we bought was 68. So from the age of 7 running the 68 or age of 9 running the 68 go-kart, I was like, well, I got to get the 68 to NASCAR. And so ever since then, it's just been kind of the dream.
You going back to your earliest memory, getting hooked on NASCAR, do you have like a favorite driver sponsor combo that you've just kind of like, you thought was like, it really caught your eye every time you saw it?
Well, yeah, because I mean, growing up, like, I mean, I used to watch, like when I was watching NASCAR, I had a couple different drivers like that I really liked watching and pulling for, because at first I really latched in onto Kevin Harvick in the black and silver GM Goodrich number 29, and watching him, I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is fantastic. I was a big Kevin Harvick fan. And then, it was like kind of shortly after, at watching NASCAR and kind of what was going on, I really liked the driving style of Jimmy Johnson. And, I mean, he was in the iconic blue, silver, Dayglow yellow 48 Lowe's car. And I loved how, you know, his style was of driving, and I wanted to be like that. So those were kind of the two that I really latched onto and followed and kind of tried to mock my career after.
So let's go back to your go-karts. You said that you had the Shadow, and
Yeah.
it was you said it was a terrible kart, but that must have kind of made competition a little bit difficult for you. How hard was it for you to kind of compete back then?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. The very first race I ran in that thing, I think I went like 3 laps down in a 20-lap feature. It was bad, but I guess it's kind of a blessing in disguise that we had that cart, because it was so bad and so slow and so heavy compared to everybody else's that was racing, that, you know, when I pulled off the track, I vividly remember pulling off the track after my first race, and I pulled my helmet off and I threw it to the side and got out, and I was crying. I was very upset. I hated it. I was like, this cart is the worst. You know, it's a piece of crap. And I, like, in that moment, I think that's where Dad saw that this wasn't going to be a, you know, a one and done season like soccer was. Like, you know, got out, played during the summer, dreaded going to practices, and then was like, yeah, no more. That it was something where I really latched into it, and I was very passionate about it from that young age, and just, I guess it's just the competitiveness in general that I loved about it.
And then eventually it progressed on, moved on to the late models. And tell me about that. Tell me about your first win that you just threw it back to at Darlington a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. So that that late model that we ran, that number 68, that was a way better start. You know, when we first got into late model stock cars, so the car that we bought was older than most of the fields, just because, again, we were trying to make sure that this is something that Brandon's going to continue with, right? And that we're going to really put our best foot forward and give it our grade A effort. But you don't want to go broke doing it. So we bought the cheaper late model, but it was still fast. And we got to know the right people in the garages there to make it fast. And Jackie Baird was my first crew chief on that car, and he actually worked like with other kids, like in go-karts, and he'd worked before in the I don't know if you remember the ASA series, the Hooters cars.
Oh yeah.
So he had worked over there, and then when he had caught wind that I was going late model racing, he immediately gave his resume to my dad and was like, look, like, let me help with this kid. You know, he's got talent. It was just one of those things where it was awesome because he helped us take that late model with that exact scheme and go out and get a win in our first year with it. So I liked the way that the late model started way better than the go-karts.
You were showing other people that you had the drive, you had the talent to compete in this upper echelon of racing as you progress more into the kind of the bigger tracks. But talk about the marketing need. You said that, you know, didn't want to break the bank, buying the most expensive late model out there. Tell me, when did that kind of need for you to say, yeah, I might need to start reaching out, maybe getting some help?
Yeah, I mean, well, the need really started
Immediately.
When we first bought our first set of Goodyear tires. No, so we were running a local track my first year at Old Dominion Speedway. Now it's like apartments or something, but they have a new track open in Spotsylvania County, Dominion Raceway. Steve and Carrie Britt were the owners of Old Dominion Speedway, and now they own the new one. So I haven't gotten to run the new facility, but looks awesome. So, but no, when we were running, we were only running a local track every Saturday night, and that was kind of getting my bearings under me about running a full size stock car, how everything changes. Because I mean, it's kind of a leap, you know, when most kids that you'll see that race now, they'll take the steps. They'll go from a go-kart to a bandolero to a legends car to a, you know, limited late model, then to maybe a late model or a street stock limited late model. I don't really know the hoops because we went go-kart, late model, truck, Xfinity. So I made some hop, skips, and jumps, but no, we knew that we were going to need to really kick the marketing into gear. I was probably about 15, turning 16 when we got into late models. So when I turned 16, we were really into it because we knew that if we wanted to travel and if we wanted to start running, you know, different tracks, Motor Mile, South Boston, Southern National, and run the big money races for late models, we knew it was going to get expensive because then, you know, you're no longer just running the short track Saturday night special. You're needing newer chassis. You're needing built motors. You're needing multiple sets of tires and, you know, the best of everything. Every part matters. And, you know, it's crazy looking at it now because sometimes I'm looking at some of these late model teams like, dang, you have like a Xfinity Series budget on the late model. So it's nuts. And you'll see people that were rolling in with stacker tractor trailers for a race at Old Dominion Speedway. And we had the F550 plumber's truck hooked up to the 28-foot box trailer. And we're like, all right, you know, we're going to need some more than this. So, no, I guess when I was 16 is when I really dove in and started trying my best to create PowerPoints and, you know, stats and, you know, everything about me. And, you know, Dad worked with me on it, and we were pitching to everybody local. So we had, obviously, Brandonville Foundations was on the car. It was my dad's company, but we really focused in, and I guess my first real sponsor sale would have been a restaurant chain called Glory Days Grill. And I only made that big break because one of my parents' neighbors owned one of the franchises. And he said, well, if you can, you know, put together your proposal, I'll hear it out. And then I'll pitch it to Glory Days and see what they say. And so I went and printed out my PowerPoint, put it in a nice little folder, and put on a shirt and tie and walked over to my neighbor's house with that PowerPoint in hand and cutting through yards and writing it. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't much money, but it was enough to get us going. So yeah, that would have been my first big sponsor sale. And then my pop-op drove me around to a couple local people that he worked with, just because he knew my hometown area so well, because he grew up and died in that town. And yeah, he took us to all the different places, and I'd walk into Woodbridge Plumbing and Mega Rentals and all these different local mom and pop shops. And it was just pitching my name and what I was doing, and would you like to be on board? And, you know, $500 here, $1,000 here. It's what added up. And it's kind of what started our first racing budget, you know, outside of Bank of Dad. So no, that was kind of how I had to start. It was like I don't know if you want to call it trial by fire, but just kind of thrown into it and like figured out. And kind of with each pitch, you get a little better. You find out what works and what doesn't work, what people like to hear, what they don't like to hear. And then it started turning into like kind of doing my own sort of kind of media pitching. And like I was 16 years old and I went on a local radio station in the area and talked, and I had no idea what I was going to say or what to say, because I was supposed to be writing my own scripts. But yeah, no, I just kind of went in there and, no pun intended, you know, winged it for Glory Days Grill, who sells a lot of chicken wings. So it was I don't know, like it was kind of crazy the way it started, like thinking back on it and like, man, what an idiot. But at the same time, you got to be the idiot to figure out what's right.
Yeah, you're getting yourself out there.
Yeah.
So do you still have that? Do you still have any images of that PowerPoint at all? You wouldn't happen to have
Oh,
that file still, would you?
yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. It's
Oh
I
my
think
gosh.
first pitch is in like a memory box or something. My mom has them. And if not, then we're gonna have to go dig out whatever Windows 98 computer had it on there. It was not,
What
but
kind
it was
of what kind of things were you putting on there?
just kind of, I did like I had the general idea down just because I'd gone on and I Googled, what sponsorship uh, slide decks were supposed to be. And so I had like an intro page and because I was in high school, so I took it to our sports marketing teacher and got a little bit of help there. But no, I had a good intro slide. I had, a couple pictures of me with the car, and then I had a stats slide, and then who our current partners were, and then yeah, it kind of looked like, those kids in high school that are trying to raise money for their sports teams, and they get a bunch of like those discount cards that say these are our partners. Like, we like that. Not great. And then I would just go on like the pricing of what it costs to be on the hood and on the quarter panels and lower quarter panels and TV deck lid and rear bumper and C post, B post on the race suit, on the helmet. I had everything. I was ready to sell.
So you that video that you made, was it 2 years ago, that viral video? I mean, this was a long time coming. You've been doing this for years, decades.
Yeah. Well, the video came on, honestly, like, I don't know, like that inspiration kind of came from just like my area of Northern Virginia. We were about, I don't know, 10 miles from Quantico Marine Corps Base. And if you live anywhere near any military base, there's like 1,000 used car dealerships in that area. Like, it's just, that's what they do. And they sell diesels, lifted Jeeps, muscle cars. Like,
Yeah. Oh
that's
yeah.
it. And the occasional family sedan. So we used to have, without a doubt, the cheesiest car commercials that would come on local TV stations. Like, as a kid growing up and watching, I'd turn on cartoons or whatever, and that, those cheesy car ads would come up, and like I'd watched those my entire life and just never thought anything of it. But like taking that and kind of channeling it over into like, well, I can't believe nobody has done this. Gave it a rip.
Well, something else that not many drivers have done is they haven't kind of taken their own marketing handle into their own hands. And you ended up going to college. You ended up going to University of Coastal Carolina. Tell me about that decision to go there, to kind of take that at the same time as you being a race car driver.
Yeah. So both my parents, my mom especially, but both my parents were very, they pushed me that I need to, no matter what, get an education. And that, if racing doesn't work out, what am I going to do? Still don't have the answer to that question. I've been asked like 1,000 times, like, would you do something marketing degree if you didn't make it in NASCAR? I'm like, I don't know, I guess. I have no idea. But no, it was one of those things where growing up, I'd always, been pushed like, you need to do school's important, then we'll go racing. And after high school, when I graduated high school, I thought, okay, well, now it's time to go be a professional race car driver like everybody else. And that was hit with a quick, swift nope. That wasn't in the cards at the time. Like, we didn't have that kind of budget to just be full-time NASCAR or do anything like that, or go rent a ride from a team. So quickly ended up working in the construction industry. I was a day laborer. Yeah, I was taking cinder blocks and building retaining walls and foundations and driveways, sidewalks, swimming pools, everything, building houses. That work
stuff.
That work sucks. I'm glad I did it, because now when something breaks in the house, I can take it apart halfway, then watch YouTube on how to fix it and kind of sort of have an idea of what I'm doing. But no, it was in that moment, I'll never forget, because I was taking like super part-time classes at a community college, Northern Virginia Community College, and I was in the back of one of those F-550 work trucks, and it was at like 6 a.m, and so it was freezing, and I was sitting in the back of the truck, and it's a bench seat in the back, so it's 3 people, and I'm sitting in the middle, and I was like, all right, enough is enough. Like, we got to do something here. We got to get serious. So ended up stopping that job full time and dedicated my whole time to school and college and trying to learn marketing, figure out how it works, figure out what I need to do to get sponsorships and how to sell it. It was hard because you jump into those courses and you're head on with it, but you go through a lot of those introductory courses and you're like, ugh, like, come on, let's get to the good stuff. How do I sell this stuff? So that's when the decision was made that I'm going full time with it, and got my grades up enough, had gone and visited Coastal and visited some friends that had went there, and just kind of loved the area, loved the campus. Didn't really have any NASCAR ties to it, but applied and I got in, and told my parents. I was like, yep, that's where I'm going. And Dad was not a fan because it was far from home, and Mom was like, oh my God, like, he's moving out. Like, she didn't like that. She cried a lot. But yeah, so that spring semester I moved down to Coastal Carolina University, and actually at Coastal, people saw them on our cars, and when we were in the truck series, they were on our trucks. And that all kind of came from, again, just I was at the university, just everybody that goes to a new college is a fan of their college no matter what, and they wear the attire, the teal t-shirts and Chanticleer hat, and I was just wearing that when we were racing a truck at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And I put a picture up on social media, and the Coastal, like the director of marketing at Coastal, or president of marketing, Bill Plate, he called me and was like, what is this? Because they were like, it wasn't typical sport, and a student at a NASCAR track in a race suit, that's different. So he called me and said, what is this? And he, like my neighbor Jim, gave me the opportunity to go pitch. So that PowerPoint was a little better than the first.
Yeah.
I
bet.
3 days. But nope, went over. I was so nervous. Mom sent me money, and I got to go buy a real suit. So I wasn't walking around in my church suit anymore with like super baggy pleat pants. So that was good. Got my first new suit and forgot to put on a belt. So I was that nervous when I walked into the meeting at Coastal, and got to sit down with Bill and Lindsey Glass and a couple other people from that Coastal office, and kind of gave my pitch, who I am, what I do, and how they can be a part of it. And they loved it, and that was kind of, I always say that was my first big sponsorship break, my first big sale. That's what really got us going. And my whole pitch to them was like, well, look, Liberty University's got a truck out there with William Byron, so what's up? because Liberty's one of Coastal's rivals. So I thought, we could do this.
Well, we're leaving it off on a high note here, but I think that's a good place to leave off for today. Brandon, I really appreciate you sitting down and talking with me about this. This is some really interesting stuff that we don't hear from very many drivers.
Yeah.
And folks, if you want to continue watching this, stay tuned. We have episode 2 coming up, and next time we'll go a little bit more into your first days going into NASCAR with your own team.